COVID hit. So this was just before I was going to give birth. Okay. So I got made redundant. So over a month span, it went from like, we were in London, in state school, to next thing you know, we're going to go buy some uniform, brown uniform. We're going to get on the plane, we're going to go South Africa. I just remember like, we're there. My brother lost his friend through a motorbike accident running away from the police. So it's almost like it just felt like that. It was like, you know.
Got caught and ended up being in the back and waiting for the police to come and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. Like, this is bad.
If you would have seen me, honestly, 4 years ago, not that long ago, I wouldn't have been able to do this, first and foremost.
This journey of creating this podcast, that stillness that you were seeing was me being really, honestly, painfully scared and not wanting to show up.
What? Bro, I was like, what's going on? Why aren't you happy? Like, look around. All your friends are here. People flew in from different sides of the world. It was like such a brilliant event. We were in a massive villa, having the best time. And then he just looked up and he was like, we're all gonna die.
This is the Promisingpreneur podcast. I am Aahliyah Amerat, and today I'm here with Poppy Child, who is the CEO of Pop That Mama. Now, obviously, you know the news. So we had to get somebody that was a creative within the field of pregnancy. And Pop That Mama I found on Peanut.
Was it Peanut?
It was Peanut.
I thought it was TikTok.
No, it was Peanut.
Wow.
So I'm going to shout them out. This is not sponsored or absolutely anything like that. But I'm going to shout them out anyway because I'm very happy that I did. So, hello, my love.
Hello.
Thank you for coming in.
Absolute pleasure. I'm so excited to be here. You dragged me from my bed. I messaged you like, I'm not feeling well. You're like, no. See you on Tuesday. So I'm here.
Honestly, I had to get you on before the year was out. Like, I had to, because I felt like, I mean, selfishly, because obviously pregnant, so whatever tips I can gain in this podcast. What?
Is that what it's about?
I mean, I'm transparent. I'm letting you know.
Yeah, good.
But I also feel like there is not a lot of education on birthing, full stop. Mm-hmm. And everybody that I speak to is petrified of birth, or their connotations to birth is, oh, it's so painful and it's this and it's that. And through my own kind of research of hypnobirthing and things like that, I thought, no, because I think because before anything, entrepreneurialism is heavily based on mindset, right? And understanding how the mind works and understanding that things get really, really shit really quickly and it gets really, really good really quickly. So like the juxtaposition of being really positive and really negative all in the same kind of moment, I feel like has a massive, is very similar to pregnancy.
Yeah.
Because you're so excited that you're pregnant and you've got this baby growing inside you, and like birth, you're at the end of it, you've got a whole child and like you're seeing your baby for the first time. However, the feeling beforehand may not be as exciting.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit difficult. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I just found that the mindset of giving birth and the mindset of pregnancy has been really, really, like, it's mind-blowing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So when I realised that I could actually control it that bit more, it's like when people turn around and say to me, oh no, you're going to be in pain and you're going to do this and you're going to do that and it ain't no easy thing. I'm like, no, stop talking to me about that, because I believe that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And
that's what hypnobirthing teaches. And that's what you teach with Pop That Mama.
Yeah.
And I went onto your masterclass last week and I was like, yes, this was a very good introduction, because the University of Google and the University of YouTube will tell you so much. However, there's no one to validate it with. Right? And having a birth teacher like yourself is like, okay, no, this person actually studies it. She actually teaches it. If I have a question, I can actually ask her. So it validates all the things that I have watched. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's very similar to entrepreneurship. Very crucial that we have coaches and mentors within business, because you can learn from the University of Google, you can learn from the University of YouTube, but there's so much information out there. It's about picking and choosing which one's right for you. And having a mentor or a coach in whatever field is like, oh, actually, this makes sense. This is now validated. What I learned on the University of Google is validated.
University of Google, I love that.
Honestly, that is it. Because when I used to coach, that's basically what I used to say to people. I was like, you can learn off the University of Google. However, it's very different to you being able to validate those thoughts.
I also think when you're working with an educator, they bring it together, and there is something to be said about when you get various bits of information rather than sporadically looking at Google trying to build something.
Build the picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas with me as the educator, I will curate the learning experience for you with everything that Dr. Google or Master, whatever your thing was, whatever, whatever Google tells you, but I will curate it into a learning experience.
So that being said, who is Poppy Child?
Who is Poppy Child?
So not who's that mama, who is Poppy Child?
Okay. So, as a person, I am a creative. I am a free spirit. I love being spontaneous. I don't like being told what to do, boxed in or anything like that. I like to live my life kind of following the universal energy, which brought me to you, because I watched your podcast and I was like, I'm there. I'm coming on. I was flicking through your reels and I knew I was going to be sat at this seat talking to you because I loved your energy, first and foremost. But so, that's me as a kind of person, and what I'm really excited to share with your listeners is my journey to finding my true passion, my journey to finding self-confidence. And why I want to share that is because I think that those two things are life-changing. I think they change your life because ultimately we spend most of our time at work, and if you're not passionate about it, you just live in your life, and I'm excited to unpack that with you. But in terms of my titles and what I do, I am a mum to my gorgeous little pocket rocket of a child.
Pocket rocket!
She's like, honestly, I thought I had energy. She's got more energy. She's strong. She's physically stronger than me as well. Like when I try and change her nappy, she's like, and I'm like, I can't. I'm like, you just run, just go. Don't have your nappy changed. So she's not only physically stronger than me, but she's actually like energetically stronger than me, which is amazing. And then I'm a wife as well to my husband, Tom, who I've been with for 12 years.
Nice.
And he is my rock, the person that inspires me and I would say enables me to do what I do. I set up a business when I had a newborn. I started my business when my baby was 6 weeks, and how I did that was through having the support of him, not only financially but emotionally. He would take the baby out in the park, freezing cold, while I'm recording a podcast because I need the house to be quiet. So he was that person just opening the space for me to work. And I think that helped me not lose myself in motherhood, even though it was messy and it was demanding with a newborn screaming and, that huge identity shift that you go through as when you become a mum, which you're going to experience soon. And in some ways, I feel like you start that journey when you're pregnant because your body changes, your bump's growing and suddenly you're taking on this new identity physically and emotionally. But I think finding my passion at that time was amazing because I feel like that just changed my life. My life changed for the better because I had Juniper, but I found my passion too. And that really changed my life in a massive way. It really did. I have so much alignment now with everything.
I love that.
It's amazing.
That just sounds so inspiring. Yeah. So we're going to get into that. But before we do get into that, I want to know a bit about your background. Where is it that you've come from? What is it that what led you to this point of alignment?
Great. So my background, I was actually thinking before coming on this podcast, I started looking at all the photos, which I'll send you afterwards, just trying to piece together my life, because becoming a mum, I'm like, whoa, I don't even know what happened before. So it's been really helpful to reflect. And I think it's such an important thing to do is to look back and be like, who am I? And try and figure it out. But in short, grew up in London. My mum's from Ethiopia. My dad's from Kenya. My dad's white, my mum's black. My dad's a Mzungu, so he's a white Kenyan. and they came to London with like no money, no prospects. My mum was 19, and they were basically squatting in various different houses, trying to find a job and like settle here. We actually ended up in like Hampstead in a really posh house at one point, like squatting in a posh house. Yeah. So yeah, eventually we got rehoused. So this was before I could remember. So a lot of this, like my dad sort of tells me these things. And then we got housed, and then I went through the school system here. Went to primary school, went to secondary school, and I found school really boring. Like it just was so uninspiring for me. They never told me why. So you've got to do algebra, and I'd be like, well, why? Like, why do I need to know A+? Tell me why. Like, I'm so confused. I'm here listening to you, but I don't know why. Why do I need to know the history? And I always used to ask questions. Like once in history, I was like, but why do I need to know this? And the teacher got so angry. She was like, how dare you ask me that? How, like, you're here because of history. And in a way, I was like, thanks. Like that was, I was like, cool. I'll start learning. So, but what I became really good at in school was daydreaming, because I'd get bored and I'd look out the window. I'd just look out the window. And I became a mastermind at creating visions in my mind. You know, I was in MTV music videos in my mind, because that's what I liked watching.
Oh, trust me, I did that.
Back up dancing and all that. Yeah. So, but I could see it. Like, you know, I was so entertained in my own mind. It's not even funny. So what that has then helped me to do now is be able to visualize, which we'll talk about later on. And I think that's helped me a lot in my life and what I've done so far. But yeah, so school, my brother he's a year older than me, and he started getting in with the wrong crowds. I say wrong, but just people who were into crime. Like, we lived in like council estate, and we were surrounded by those people who did crime. I know you similar story, yeah. So,
story of our lives in London.
That's it. Like, I think that's also why I kind of connected with you, watching you and hearing you, because I could sense.
Listen, you can't take the South London out.
Yeah.
You can't take the South London out.
You cannot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you can't.
So it started off like petty crimes, and then it escalated to like getaway cars, playing bumper cars with like stolen cars, bumper cars in the park, like driving cars and hitting each other with the cars.
And let's get it alive.
Huh? Yeah, ghetto, like, yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So eventually my dad was like, you know, he grew up in Kenya. He's like, this is just so not my world, you know? Dan's coming home, graffitiing, I'm writing all over the place, Lady, Diamond, Ice Girl 16 UK, like.
Sorry.
Miss Dynamite, like, it's just like all this stuff. And my dad's like looking at us like, this is not what I had in plan for you. Like, what is going on? This is
Lady Dynamite.
Yeah.
Do you know what mine was?
No, all the lyrics. Who?
So I had Baby Dilemma.
Oh, I don't even know.
So I was the baby of Dilemma. So Dilemma was like 4 years older than me, and then you had like Little Miss Dilemma, and then you got Baby Dilemma.
Oh my God.
So I was Baby Dilemma, and then Mimics, because I always used to mimic people.
Oh, so this is what you were called.
And then I had a Little Miss Mimics.
No way. Your sidekick or something.
Honestly.
That's funny. So yeah, you know the drill. Yeah. And then eventually, as I said, my dad was kind of looking at us a bit like, you know, what's going on here? And then he met a lovely woman called Christine, who's now my life coach, one of my best friends, and just someone who really inspires me. And they were together. She's my stepmom, but they didn't marry. But I say stepmom because it communicates a lot of our relationship of what we're about. And then, she saw potential in us and was like, you know, realistically, we need to like get them away from London to help them to be who they, you know, I don't want to say better because it's not better, but just give them an opportunity.
Who they're destined to be.
Yeah,
they don't need
exactly.
to be in this. Yeah.
Take them somewhere where there's more positive influences and where they can be nurtured. So I think the final, the point at which my dad was like, this is getting too much, is my brother was, he was walking up to the shop to get a pint of milk, and my brother was on a moped, like doing a wheelie, like up the hill, and he's like, nah, this is too much now, you know.
That's my son.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, long story short, she paid for us to go to school in South Africa. So over a month span, it went from like, we were in London, in state school, to next week, you know, we're going to go buy some uniform, brown uniform. We're going to get on the plane. We're going to go South Africa. I just remember like, we're there, we're on the plane, step outside the plane, heat. I just thought, where's the tigers? Like that's what I didn't know much at all about Africa. You know, it's just small, I was quite, just London, that's it. Nowhere else exists. So went to the boarding school. I just remember I had blue eyeshadow, lines here, like yourself. And then I slicked my fringe back like this. Like the school teachers used to be like, if there was a tornado, that fringe wouldn't move because it was slicked back like this. And I had all the like, you know, when you draw like all up here and everything, hoops. So I go to the school, the place.
Looking like that?
Yeah, obviously. And the teacher was like, you're going to need to take all of that makeup off. You're going to take your hoops out. We don't have any jewellery, no makeup in here. I was 13. So I started wiping all this stuff off, get the additional things from the uniform, the tie, which obviously we couldn't get before. And on the uniform list, it said brown shoes. So for me, I'm like, I'm going to get like some sick, like little heel, you know, points. Little did I know it was Bronx, like those heavy, you know. So day one, I'm there going, like clonking around the school, and everyone's looking around like, who is this chick from London, like with these heels? And as soon as I get into the halls, I'm like, Lady Diamond. I start graffitiing all over the walls. And everyone's just like, who is this? Anyway, long story short, we spent 5 years there. It's where I learned manners. It's where I learned like a lot there. I feel like it got the hood out of me. And yeah, we had the most amazing experience of our lives there. Like, it was incredible. Yeah, 5 years in South Africa, came back. It was an amazing opportunity. I feel so lucky to have had. Not everyone gets the opportunity to, you know, get a springboard like that. But it was amazing. And then we came back, and then I'm going to go fast with this bit. So went to uni. I met my husband before uni, who obviously I've been with for 12 years. And then so I got a first class degree, I couldn't believe it, in creative events management. And then I worked in multiple events agencies, doing project management, creative design, set design, all that sort of stuff. Nice. And then found out I was pregnant. Fast forward. And then COVID hit. So this was just before I was going to give birth. Okay. So I got made redundant, like pretty much straight away, because events, no signs of coming back. It was like, yeah. So that meant no job to come back to. Obviously quite stressful, you know, when you're pregnant, you want to make sure you've got a job to come back to. It's very scary. And then ended up, giving birth, having the most amazing, life-changing, incredible birth experience, which honestly just left me almost speechless, because everything I'd known or been told about birth was just wrong. Like I had the most amazing, empowering experience that I honestly feel, like I said on the masterclass, like that confidence and that incredible experience is still with me today. And I feel like I draw a lot of my strength and confidence from that huge body event, that huge, you know, event that is bringing new life into this world. Like, it's huge, you know, it's big.
Did you have a good pregnancy?
I did.
For you to go into birth and labour positively?
I did have a nice pregnancy, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, love, I know you just...
She said, sorry, love.
I know it's not been 100% easy for you, but... Yeah.
No, do you know what? What was your... Okay, sorry. Let's go back, because you said so much that I was like, okay. Going to boarding school, right, was one of the best experiences for you. Now, when you came back, and what uni did you go?
Falmouth.
I don't know why I asked, because I don't actually know.
No, Cornwall.
Is it Cornwall?
Cornwall, yes, in Cornwall.
Right, okay. Yeah. So, when you came back to the UK, did you feel like things had changed?
What, in terms of like where I was in the scene? Yeah.
Yeah, like how did you feel coming back? So
that's a good question.
You've come back from like you've gone from, obviously I understand being 13 years old going to a boarding school, you're only gonna be graffitiing up the walls, right?
Yeah.
So I can kind of instantly understand what that transition was like. But when you came back, how did you feel?
So it's interesting. So before we left, it felt like a pressure cooker, kind of like intense scene where like there was obviously a lot of crime, and it just felt like something needed to give at that time. And sadly, like just after we left, my brother lost his friend through a motorbike accident running away from the police. So it's almost like it just felt like that. It was like, you know, and then a lot of his friends then went to prison, you know, that same route. So then coming back, it felt like a whole kind of new world in a way. Like, I guess people had moved on, whether they went to prison or maybe they grew up and found jobs and had families. So when I came back, I very much saw that as an opportunity to just build a whole new life. And obviously meeting Tom, that was one of the best things that could have happened, because we then built a life together. But how did I feel coming back? It felt like a bit of a reverse sort of culture shock in some ways, you know, obviously being part of the South African vibe and the way of life there. It definitely was a bit like, yeah, you have to kind of get used to the London way again.
What's the difference?
Well, look, South Africa, the lifestyle was pretty amazing. Like, we went to a boarding school there which had, well, it was very white. And it was lots of money. So like on the weekends, we would go to these like huge mansions with people, and coming from London, nothing council estate house. Like, you know, you have to, there'll be days where we'd be looking around the sofa and underneath the sofa for the like pennies to get the milk, like that kind of situation. To, oh, we're just gonna call the sous chef at 3 a.m. to make us something whilst we've been drinking. Like, it's a mad, two different worlds. So that was so different. Like, that was just like, yeah, crazy. It was crazy. Yeah.
Do you think that gave you the insight into what is available in life? And if you didn't see that, do you think it would have been like...
That's interesting. Do you know what, I'm not a materialistic, I'm not even really money motivated. So for me, I just kind of, I didn't look at it in that way, really. I've never been money motivated, ever. Like, if you look in my purse, you'll see my £5 notes are like squinged up, and like even my dad said to me, he was like, "You need to stop doing that with money. Like, straighten it up. Like, put some respect." It's like all squinged at the bottom, you know, and it just. So yeah, I wouldn't say so. No.
Because the reason why I asked that is because in one of my therapy sessions, I was speaking to my therapist, and she was like, what, based on the fact that, because I, to be fair, slightly similar, but just not as drastic as moving to South Africa to boarding school. But when I was younger, at 12 years old, yeah, how old was 13? Year 8?
Yeah. I think so.
Right, okay, so exactly the same time. When I was 13 years old, I originally went to an all-girls school in Brixton, like Camberwell, Brixton, so deep in South London, very, very ghetto. And that's where the slick back and the diamonds and the kickers with the diamonds on it, and like the lollipops in the hair and stripy colourful socks. Yeah, I was doing all of that stuff. And graffitiing on every bus that you went on. Yeah, I done all of that. And then I remember I started to steal. So I used to go to like, but that's based on not having it at home and wanting it. I remember getting caught in like Debenhams in West End. I bunked school with a friend. I honestly was now I'm like, what a dumbass. Why did you do that? But I remember running in West End in my school uniform.
Oh my God. From
the flipping security guard in Debenhams. Was it Debenhams or John Lewis? One of them department stores. And I think I stole like jewellery or something like that. Anyway, got caught and ended up being in the back and waiting for the police to come and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. Like, this is bad. Like, I used to bunk all the time, but now I've got caught bunking. So now the school's called because my bloody name of the schools on the jumper. And then like, I just remember going home and feeling so much like shame, right? And then my dad turned around and said to me, look, what do you want to do? Because this clearly ain't working. Because I was living with my mum Monday to Friday, going to school in South London. My dad lived in East London he actually moved out by that point. Yeah. Did he move out by that point? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he moved. I can't remember. But basically, my dad's side was a lot more, and I've spoken about this on the podcast before, but my dad's side is a lot more wealthy. And when I say wealthy, meaning we've got a house, we've got properties outside of London, investments. He's got a stable job. He was running the business for X amount of years, and then went from that to getting married and having a very kind of what seems to be a stable life. It is a stable life, right? My grandparents are there. There's loads of support. There's a massive community. The Islamic religion and culture, all of us speak to each other and help each other, and everyone's in everyone's business, and is all of that stuff, right? So that was that side of life. But then my South London side was completely isolated. Me, my mum and my sister. Auntie's there, but she's doing her own thing. Other aunties, doesn't matter. She's just not around, right? Like, grandma's not really there. She's whatever. Everything's just isolated. We're just in our own bubble. Struggling for gas and electric, struggling to be able to pay the rent, always in arrears. Like that kind of life, to then the life of, there is no meter for the gas and electric. There's just a limited supply of gas and electric. Like, do you know what I mean? It was a massive contradiction. So when my dad turned around and said to me, look, this ain't obviously happening. I realised it within myself at the age of 12, 13. And I was like, if I stay here, I'm probably going to end up pregnant. Well, this is not what I thought. This is actually what was projected onto me. You stay in this environment. By 16, you're pregnant with your first kid. Yeah. Single mum, doing up. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, or you sort your shit out. So I actually opted to go to an Islamic private school in East London and move to my dad's. So I did. And then, I mean, because you was in a whole other country, I think there wasn't a lot of like moving around. However, after a year of that Islamic private school, I was like, no bitch, I ain't doing this no more. I was like, nah. It was however, that was a brilliant experience. It was a brilliant experience to then get such stability and then be able to see the difference of the two lifestyles. And then when I came out of it, it was like, okay, no. When I went to my last school, because I went to 3 different secondary schools, right? When I went to my last school for my GCSE years, I then made my own choice of what kind of life I wanted to live. Because I saw the poverty lifestyle and the lifestyle of leading down doom and gloom and pregnancy when you're young and all of that kind of stuff. And then I also saw the lifestyle of kind of very strictness, manners beyond belief, like a way of living, a way of life. Yeah. And I'm like, that stability is appealing. Like that money, seeing mums and dads pick up their children. What mum and dad was coming to Brixton, South London? There ain't no mum and dad coming to pick you up. Get your ass on the bus. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Whereas at this private school, it's everyone's getting chauffeured to and from school. Like, even though it wasn't a fancy private school, it was just, you had to pay. It wasn't a state school, right? And then we had our Arabic classes and like just extracurricular classes that you just wouldn't have in state school. But yeah, the difference was massive. But it enabled me to be able to make my own choice on what I thought was a better life.
Yeah, and see that contrast.
Yeah. So I wanted to I was saying that to say, like, what was your experience of that contrast? Because now I realise, like what I was saying, like through my therapy, is what I understood. Even though I'm not money motivated, I mean, there's a part of me that's money motivated.
I was gonna say
that's a lie.
I don't.
No, she likes the finer things in life. She's money motivated. But where that's come from is because I saw how much money is available in this world.
Yeah.
And I then seeked out more on how much was available in this world. So in that curiosity, like, I was like, no, I can't be cute. Like, if it's available for that person, why isn't it available for me? Is that that's how my mind works.
It's interesting because I think for me, like I genuinely am not money motivated. I'm trying to be. I'm actually trying to be a bit more. But it was one of the things my university lecturer said that really stuck with me, probably more so than my whole degree actually, come to think of it. He said, do what you love and money will follow.
Yep.
And I think that there is, look, not everyone can do that because sometimes you're doing something you love that won't necessarily bring in money, you know? So it's one of those things that you can say, maybe if you're a bit privileged, but now doing what I love, I know what he means. And literally I do what I love every day and I never ever feel like I'm working, ever. I would do what I do for free. And that's what I did for the first year, pretty much did it for free. I wasn't making no money for the first year. And then the money came. But it's not like I'm looking at the targets going, I need to make X amount. I'm just like, I'm so passionate about this. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to share this. I'm going to do this. And then literally the more I kind of do that, the more money follows. But I was in a very lucky position where I could spend time trying to figure things out. And I didn't need to think I've got to pay the mortgage because, as I said, my husband was backing me and I was very lucky to do that. So I know that not everyone can do what they love and money will follow because you can do what you love and actually there ain't no money in it as well. So I think it's about what I said in the beginning about finding your passion first and then trying. So basically, you don't want to, if you're at work and you're looking at the clock, that's not a good sign, is it? Like looking at the clock, wondering, and that's how it was at one of the companies I worked at. I hope this doesn't get to them, but like I literally like it was like 5 to 6, and I was looking, and then as soon as it was 6, I was like, bye. Yeah, so which is actually quite a lot of people in an office job would feel like that. You know, you're waiting for that 5:30 moment, and then you leave. So I think that's the thing that motivates me. I guess is it's that it is my passion, and therefore the money is coming. But I don't know if that actually even touched on your question now.
No, yeah, no, it does. I think from you not experiencing it and then experiencing it, I think subconsciously you've banked what it's like to have it.
Yeah.
But touching on what you've said was the catalyst is the fact that you had support.
Yeah.
And you have support.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that is the catalyst. So I would even go a step further to say, before you find your passion, you find your people.
Yeah. 100%.
Because once you found your people, it's like you can then fulfill your passion.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to fulfill a passion and you don't have anybody to fall back on, or you don't have a tribe around you that's going to support you and encourage you. So then your passion's going to end up dwindling. Right? Because it's going to get really hard because you've got bills to pay, you've got rent to cover, you've got, do you know what I mean? You've got to eat.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, like, that's just what creative entrepreneurship is, really. Is like we, as creatives, we are so passionate about what we do. If we don't have the support to back it up from the beginning, that passion can dwindle.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter about your passion.
Yeah.
Because someone, I would say if you're going like with business, if you're going into, if you're going into something you love, it doesn't bring money, unless you have the few things, the people around you to support you, so you can make it. You've got the longevity.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got the longevity of working on it and perfecting your craft until it makes you money.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think just questioning, are you really passionate about it? Because for me, I've done multiple things. Like I was teaching in China. I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I was teaching in China. I vlogged my whole way through. I got a sponsorship deal to vlog me teaching, teaching drama to little kids, teaching English. And then I was doing vlogging and I was like, I think I found my thing. And then after a while, I was like, it's not like it's not really doing anything. And then I just gave up. I was like, I can't be arsed anymore. And then I also did a vegetarian cooking channel, which the same thing happened. Like I did it for a year, pumped out loads of really cool videos, actually, like amazing, like vegan veggie burger recipes. I did episodes veggie, but I did it so that you could adapt it for vegans as well. But like, I invited friends around, filmed it, like did it all myself. And everyone was like, Poppy, this is it. You're onto something. This is your natural, all this stuff. And after a while, I was like, meh, bored. Yeah. So it's almost like, because I didn't see the success straight away after a year, I was like, oh, I'm bored. But then I'm like, was I really passionate, or was I just like testing something out? So with this new line of work, for a year I said I didn't make any money, like not much at all, but I didn't care because I loved it and I'd do it. I'd do it in my spare time. And if I had to go back to an office job, I'd be doing this still. And I think that is where you find out, is this really my passion, or am I just testing something out, which is still cool. It's good to test things out. I mean, all of the stuff I've learned over the years have all been transferable. Everything I've done has literally, like, it's mad. It's like everything has led to it feels like it's led to this point, which is really cool.
You know, you said that you wanted to touch on where you didn't have confidence and how you built your confidence. What is it that you wanted to say about that? Because you seem to be a very confident person.
This is learned. This is all learned. This, honestly, if you would have seen me, honestly, 4 years ago, not that long ago, I wouldn't have been able to do this, first and foremost. I was painfully shy when I was younger, to the point where I'd go play at someone's house, my friend Lynn, and I'd stand at the door and not go in. And her mum would be like, come on, Poppy, come in the house. And I'd be like, I'm not coming in. And then wait for her to come out and then walk away. And then basically how I describe it is, I would show myself to the people I loved and I trusted, and I would be bonkers to them and like dance around, go crazy. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm like that. Like, this is me. It's not that I'm pretending to be something else. I was just not able to unleash myself. And over the years, I noticed that I was being misunderstood. People would even say she's a bit rude, because I'd just be quite like shut down, everything. Even at uni, I had a very like low voice, like quiet, you know. Now I'm like I'm, you know, I've unleashed myself in such a big way. And I feel, yeah, as I said, I'm not trying to be confident. I have just unleashed who I am, and that is an amazing feeling. And I think that is one of the most important skills and things I've learned over my whole life, because now I can have more honest relationships, because when you're shy, it's confusing. When you're shy, painfully shy, life is very confusing. It's like you can't build proper relationships because you're not showing yourself. So how are you meant to get to know someone if you don't show who you are? It's very hard. You're then misunderstood. People don't understand you. They think you're weird. They can think you're weird if you're too shy. So this is something I've learned, and I've learned over years by putting myself into situations like this. But my shyness can come back and hijack me at any time, which is very weird. So for example, I'll be with Tom, my husband, and we'll go somewhere and we'll meet some relatives that I don't know, and we'll be around a big table. Next minute, you know, I'm a mouse. I don't say shit. I'm quiet. And he's almost looking at me like a bit confused, like, come on, Pops, like, speak. And there's just like, it's just like, my eyes start looking around. Like, I even felt a little bit just before we started, like, I feel it in my body still, and I have to fight. Like, it feels like, honestly, it feels like it must be some weird genetic thing, because like I said in the beginning, my mum is very, very shy as well. My dad's also a little bit shy with new people. I think everyone's shy. I think, maybe not you.
Oh no, don't make this shit fool you, honey. I wouldn't say that it's shy for me. I would say that it's self-doubt.
Really? You know, when I first watched one of your episodes, the first one where you were introducing the podcast, I couldn't believe how confident you were. All I can describe it is, it felt like you had the maddest, stillest energy of like, you are so sure of what you're doing. And it's like, people feel it. It's quite for me, I look at people like you and I kind of draw from it. So when I watched that, I was like, that's really cool. I love that stillness and that energy, which is mad to think that you have self-doubts, because I did not see that one bit. So what self-doubts do you have?
Do you know why that is? Like, number one, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because when I first started this podcast, if you see the deck that I sent my team to get them on board, I gave them 2 reasons why I wanted to do it. My selfish reason and the reason for impact, right? And in my selfish reason, I literally said to them, I don't have the confidence I had before. I have been broken down drastically by people that I've allowed in that shouldn't have been there, right? And like the whole of 2021, I allowed somebody to take over my thoughts and it wasn't on purpose. I think it was just the byproduct of the isolation.
What do you mean take over your thoughts? In what way?
So like it was like I didn't have my own voice, because I felt like everything I was doing leading up to that point didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. So maybe because I was doing things off of my own back, maybe I should try something different and listen to somebody else and take what they say as gospel and do what they say, as opposed to going with my gut instinct or my intuition or doing what I wanted to do, right? And it was like I allowed that person to dictate based on them having more life experience and them having that kind of like motherly figure over me. And I thought, when I came out of that relationship, I realized how much it affected me. And I come to the beginning of this year, I realized how much I'd lost myself. I stopped speaking. I stopped believing in my own intuition. I stopped doing things that I thought would be best for me. And I started doing things on what would be best for everybody else. And then it got to a point where I was like, I can't do this no more. This is not who I am. I've never been like this. And as far as I'm concerned, even though I feel like I failed my previous life, as in like I failed my past businesses. I didn't actually. Like the fact that I sold my business, the reason why I thought I failed is because I sold my business before I allowed it to carry on.
Right.
Because I didn't want to go through it. I didn't want to go through the heartache that I was going through. And there was a part of me that's like, well, if you just stayed for a little bit longer, what could have happened? So then that's where I felt like I failed, because I just didn't carry on. But then also at the same time, if I did carry on, the pandemic would have licked my ass.
Yeah.
So really and truly, your intuition for leaving was spot on, honey. If you're enjoying this podcast so far, this is only going to annoy you if you're a hater. Click subscribe, click follow, and drop a quick comment. And if you've done all of those already, then send me a 5-star review, because honestly, it's the only way we survive on the internet. Thank you. And I experienced going to America and moving away and coming back and then meeting my new partner. Like all of that happened.
All of the things, yeah.
And like now being pregnant. It's like all of that happened based on the decision that I made to leave the salon. Right?
Yeah.
So fast forward into the beginning of this journey of creating this podcast. That stillness that you were seeing was me being really, honestly, painfully scared and not wanting to show up.
What? That surprises me.
I didn't want to show up. And in my like call to actions that we kind of add in And at the beginning of all of the podcasts, you've watched a few of them, you would see that I say, I'm doing this to help me build my confidence. Like, you supporting me and sharing and liking and commenting and doing all of that helps me because it validates me.
Yeah. And it's okay to have a selfish reason as well.
Honestly,
at least you're transparent.
But this is the thing. It's like, if people don't have selfish reasons and they're not aligned with... And I say selfish reasons because I'm just blunt, if I'm honest with you, right? Technically, it's not actually a selfish reason. It's your reason. It's the reason why you're going to carry on, right? If you don't have a reason why you carry on based on yourself, there is a likelihood you're not going to carry on.
Or you're lying to yourself.
Right? Because there's only so much, like, you know, we do things for people and you do things to do, and then you start building this resentment. And when you're building this resentment, you don't realize that you're building resentment, but you keep doing, and eventually someone's going to trigger you and you're going to pop off and turn around and be like, I do everything for everyone. Yeah. I do this for you, I do that for you, and then you get into this, and then you become ultra selfish because now you've had enough and you've popped your lid.
So true. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, for you not to get to that point, you need to understand why you're doing it for yourself, but then also why you're doing it for other people. So with my selfish reasons of doing this podcast is, yes, I'm building my own confidence by doing this because I'm seeing my progression. I'm getting validated by people. And everyone can turn around and be like, well, no, you shouldn't need validation by anybody. Honey, everybody needs validation, right? Whether it be from your mama, your papa, your partner, your friends, the random world, your followers, whatever it is. Everybody needs validation, hence why you get dopamines when you get a like on your picture. Yeah. Right? So, because I understand that is just the way of life, I'm okay with saying that I need to be validated sometimes. It's not every time that I'm macho confident. Yeah, I can do this, I can do it. It's not every time we have those feelings, right? And it's okay. Do you know what I mean? It's okay for not every single day for you to be up applauding yourself. And sometimes you need other people to applaud you, which then brings up your level of confidence, right? So having that selfish reason, I'm hella true to that shit. I needed to do this because I needed to see that I could do it. Yeah. And now that I've gone this far, I'm like, girl, yeah, you got this. Yeah. There's certain parts of building a podcast and building a following and stuff like that I don't like. I don't like editing. I don't like the admin side of things. I hate it. So what did I do to mitigate that? I got people that like doing it.
So you can focus on the stuff you're good at and what you like.
Do you know what I mean? So then it doesn't get to a point where my creativity is stagnant because I'm doing all the things that I don't want to do. Yeah. Right? And then as a byproduct of that, so exactly what you were saying, you do what you're passionate about, and as a byproduct of that, you receive money. Right?
Exactly. So
as a byproduct of me doing it for my selfish reasons, everybody else benefits. Because everyone that's listening, right, benefits from hearing the inspiration, hearing the stories, hearing their own validation, because they might be thinking something that one of us have said, and it validates their thoughts, or it gives them a sense of encouragement, or it supports them in moving the step forward, right? Secondly, that's the audience. Secondly, the actual person that I'm bringing on, so yourself. I'm bringing on people that I believe are genuinely doing amazing things within their business. And I feel like whether you have a following or you don't have a following, I feel like you need to be seen. Your story needs to be heard, more so of your background and your journey than the actual business, because your business does your business. Yeah. Right? But if people don't know who you are, and you're not like, a light's not shone upon you, there's that one potential person that's come from me that could end up being the catalyst in your business, right? They could completely change something for you, or that network, right? And I feel like Number one, it gives the person I'm bringing on a platform, but it also helps the audience. So it's like, this is not just a one-way thing. I'm not just helping myself for the sake of helping myself. I'm helping myself, but as a byproduct of me helping myself, I'm helping you. As a byproduct of you helping me, we're helping the audience.
Yeah.
As a byproduct of the audience helping us by liking, commenting and sharing, it's a whole triangle, honey.
Yeah, but you need your selfish reason first, otherwise we wouldn't be here.
Exactly, because I wouldn't have started.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's what happened when you say that it looked like I have loads of confidence. At the beginning, I really didn't. Now I feel...
Do you have to try to be confident?
Sometimes.
Yeah. So when you sit here talking, do you try, or is that just you?
I think what I try to do is partially block out the emotions that I have or that I'm feeling. And the reason why I block them out is because if I allow my emotions to get intertwined, I will overthink.
Okay.
And when you overthink, you start thinking about, do I look all right? Do I sound all right? Am I sitting up okay? Like, am I... do you know what I'm saying?
So you're doing something in your mind to block
Yeah, I'm
those
like...
thoughts.
Or I would just affirm to myself that I show up how I show up. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Love that, yeah. My brother said to me once, he was like, this is... When I was first starting out, I would send him every video I was doing. I'd send him every post and be like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And then one day he just wrote back and he said, stop trying. And I was like, oh, shit, I think I know what you mean. Like, yeah, you know, before recording, it's like, you know, you get yourself in the mode of delivering or being something that you think you should be. But when you stop trying, you just are who you are. Exactly. And you're not trying to be anything else. And also trying has a needy energy. Like, there's quite a neediness. Like, you know, with TikTok, okay, you've got like 2 seconds actually to grab someone's attention. And obviously people know that. So you see them like, they'll get the phone and be like, hello. And I'm like, get off my screen, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It's just this, that needy energy is not good. Whereas if someone's just stillness like you, has that assured confidence that they know what they're going to say is powerful, maybe even have a young pause before starting because you're so confident. You don't even need that second. That's cool.
Do you know what? It's actually quite funny you said that. There is a part of me that feels like my I learnt public presence. I don't know where from. I haven't.
Didn't you say your granddad was an inspiration? Was it your granddad?
My granddad is a massive inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a huge inspiration, but my granddad is very still.
Well, maybe that's where you got it from.
Possibly. My dad's also very confident. He's a salesman. He's just like...
It's making sense.
He's out there.
Is it?
He just says what he wants, what he says. And so possibly, yes, the role models I've had is extremely confident and still. Right? But I performed as a kid. I used to do dance. And then, as a young kid, I used to dance, so I performed on stages in front of thousands.
Wow.
My end of, you know, in year 6 where you do an end of year play, or like end of your whole school play kind of thing. It might have been a Christmas play actually. It was like my last Christmas.
Nativity.
Yeah, like a nativity play. I ended up getting, so little things have like built my confidence over the years, right? When you're in year 6, you're how old? You're like 10? 10?
I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I got picked to be the lead actress for the nativity play, which was basically, it was Olivia Twist. So Oliver Twist, but a female version. So I was Olivia over the person that could actually sing the best in the school.
Because of your confidence.
See, I didn't know whether it was because of my confidence or not. Like, we done the auditions and then everybody chose. I didn't know that it was going to be me based on the fact that I was petrified absolutely petrified. And I don't know why this one thing is kind of sticking out to me, why I'm saying it. But I was petrified to be against the girl that I thought was better than me. And she was pissed.
I can imagine.
She was pissed. And I'm pretty sure I lost my circle of friends at that time. Eventually, because they all wanted to be in the play, everyone kind of, we mustered it up and done whatever we was doing. But I was petrified. I studied, I sang my heart out. And at the end, everyone was like, you was amazing. And I remember that. And my mum and my dad, I remember my mum being like, it had to be you.
Nice.
But I'm like, no, but this girl's much better. And it was like, that stuck with me. But things like that has happened. Me performing on stage in front of my school and their parents and all that kind of stuff, and being the lead character. Even though I was excruciatingly scared of doing it, I've done it. Mm-hmm. So you're saying like you putting yourself in certain positions is what's making you, what allows you to build your confidence. And that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Is stepping into the fear. Yeah. Not trying to, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before in a podcast. I mean, these lessons are all exactly the same. We all go through the same shit.
What's the thing? Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
That's it. But I also think try and enjoy the process as well. Mm. So like being, running your own business, there's always this kind of mindset of, okay, let's do this, let's reach this target, or it's always going forward. And I feel like the whole school system's about training you to move forward in your life. There's no real reflection. It's all just like, let's get a job, and then you get a mortgage, then you get married, then you have a baby, and then you do this, and then eventually you retire and you're like, okay, what was all this running around trying to get somewhere? And I think when you run your own business, you do have that mindset of, we need to do this, and when you get there, well, we need to do that now, and there's targets, and actually you're missing the journey, which is the process. And that's something I've learned a lot over the past years. Just enjoy. Like right now, I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying this conversation. And yeah, I could easily be thinking, get it over and done with, edit, right, get in the cab, go home. Next thing, I'm like, I'm really here right now with you, enjoying being in this studio with sick cameraman over there. And just like your presence, and it's just a lovely thing, isn't it? Yeah. To just enjoy the moment. Instead of trying to go somewhere. Where are we going?
Sorry, I was going to say something really morbid there.
We're all going to die. Oh, mate, trust me. I love thinking about death. It's one of my main motivators.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I literally was going to say, where are we going? Dead? Yeah. That's where we're going. Which is very morbid, and it's a very like...
Oh, it's my favourite.
Whether you want it to be dark humour or not. At the end of the day, we're not going anywhere fast. No. Other than our grave.
Yeah. And the way I like to think of the whole death conversation is it helps me to get perspective really quickly. Like if you just sit for a minute and think about the fact that your whole body and everything is not going to exist. It's probably going to be munched by some ants, or I don't know what, it's gone. Like, and then you are just going to go back into the universe in some way. Yeah, compost. And then in 100 years, no one's going to even know. Like, okay, maybe you might leave a fair mark with the podcast and everything, but ultimately we're going to go back into
the ground.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's quite like when you think about that and hold it, it's just like, I don't know, for me, I find freedom in it because it's like nothing really matters.
Honestly, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you know, but a lot of people really fear death, like really fear it.
Well, anyone who fears death, anyone who listens, just ask yourself, if I said to you, you could live forever, what would you say?
What if I said...
You can be in whatever physical form you want. You could be 22 for the rest of your life. Do you want to live in this planet forever? Brush your teeth every day? Wake up? Take a shit? Every day?
Okay, so what would you say to someone that says, yeah, I want to?
So you're nuts.
I hear that.
No, I say, sick, man. I want some of your juice. You really love life.
Well, then, yeah, they must be living a good life. It's true. It's true. They'll be living a good life.
Yeah.
Everybody needs rest.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely, see, I find liberation in death, which is really weird to some people. But the reason why I find liberation in death is because it's the way of life. If there is no death, there is no life. Right? And if you kind of change the perspective of death being so final,
yeah,
it really helps. And even though death is final to the point where you don't see that person anymore, or you're not there anymore, at the end of the day, if we know that's what happens, there's a part of me that's just like, if I'm gonna die, then I'm gonna live today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna live right now whilst I can. In however that looks, I'm gonna do it. Or I can sit there being really like depressed. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Okay. And then you spent your whole life thinking about death, and then you die.
My brother's a bit like this. So he's very scared of being dead, dying. I think that's why he struggles to sleep at night. Sorry, Dan, for putting you in this podcast, but like, you know, because the sensation of drifting off to sleep,
yeah.
You know, that kind of like, I like that, where you let yourself go and then you can feel it and then you're like, boom, and you hit the sleep. He hates that. So he'll listen to a podcast and he'll like he needs something to prevent that feeling of going. And that, like, I think it's all linked with, but he's lost a fair few friends over his life. And so he's been faced with death definitely more than I have.
Yeah.
But we were in Lisbon for his birthday. We were all drinking, getting smashed. And I remember I was sat there and he was just like looking down. Now he looked so depressed in this moment. This was his 30th. And I went up to him, I put my arm around him. I was like, bro, what's going on? Why aren't you happy? Like, look around. All your friends are here. People flew in from different sides of the world. It was like such a brilliant event. We were in a massive villa, having the best time. And he just looked up and he was like, we're all gonna die. We're not gonna be here. And then I said the thing which I said to you. I just said, Dan, would you want to live forever? And he sat there like this. And he just went, it's bubbly. Went like that and then he was like, cheers, let's go drink some more. He was like, boom, poppy, banging out the house music, like straight back to life. Yeah. But it's true. You have to ask yourself that question. And also, all of the awful things that are happening in the world right now, you know, the war, famine, starvation, I don't know, in a way I kind of feel like, thank God that's not gonna, I don't know, go on forever for them. And like for everyone, like, you know, everything will come to an end and people will find peace in some form, you know? It just kind of gives a bit of lightness to the world as well.
So what would you say is, so we've spoken about death, right? But you support people in bringing life into this world.
Yeah.
So you're a doula.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you to explain what that is because some people don't actually know what that is. And you're a birth educator.
Yeah.
And you practice hypnobirthing or teach hypnobirthing. Again, people don't know what hypnobirthing is. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
So could you explain what exactly Pop That Mama does?
Sure, and just to want to backtrack on what you said, where you said you support people who bring life into this world, I have also supported those who have brought, you know, had a stillborn. So I've been doula to someone, obviously I wouldn't say any names or anything, but so it's interesting. Like there's birth, there's life, but there's also death. There can be death. So there's it's very much I guess there's life and there's death. But so a doula, you want me to explain what a doula is?
Yeah. So what does Pop That Mama do?
So what does Pop That Mama do? Okay, so Pop That Mama is a doula. So I'll attend at least one birth a month now. The reason why I don't do two is because there's the chance of it happening at the same time, and then if you have back to back and you haven't slept, it's quite extreme. So I'm not gonna, you know, who's to say I might try and do two later on in life, but right now one is about all I can imagine. Also, when you're on call, so you have to be on call and you have to, you know, have your phone on you and be ready to go. So for example, where I've not been feeling 100%, I'm just fingers crossed that my client doesn't give birth, because that's hard, you know, it's very straining. So I'm a doula, I attend births, I'm in the birthing space, I give emotional support, physical support, practical support. Then I have my online course, which is an online hypnobirthing program, all self-study. There's like immersive audios in there, created in 3-dimensional sound, so really kind of taking people on a journey, not only... Because my fear was doing an online course, I was like, that's so passive, you know, you're just watching someone talk on a video and you miss out on that richness of learning. So I did things like 3-dimensional sound, again, come back to my creative events management, immersive events, brought it back into the world of hypnobirthing. So it's weird how these things align. So online course, I've got my podcast, I've got 2 podcasts, which I'm going to start up again next month, because I'm building a studio in the garden, which is going to be cool.
Fun.
Yeah. So I do that, and then I also coach families over Zoom and sometimes in person as well. So yeah, essentially helping families feel more empowered about their birth experiences, and just I'm passionate about getting the conversation of birth out there, because a lot of people would probably just be like, oh, I'm not listening to this because I'm not pregnant, or I'm not listening to this because I'm a man. And it's like, this conversation needs to be heard by everyone who wishes to have a family one day, because we've been conditioned our whole lives to view childbirth as the most dramatic, awful, terrible life event. We've not been shown any images on television of births being incredible and empowering and life-affirming, because they would be boring. As I said on the masterclass, it would be boring. So we're shown all these dramatic images, and then we arrive at our pregnancy with fear, and we don't even know where that fear's come from, because we learn fear, right? We're not born with fear. We learn what to be scared of. So I'm passionate about getting this conversation into the ears of everyone who ever wants to have a family, because it's not only about the mum giving birth, it's going to impact the family. And I think what happens at birth impacts everyone. Because if you've got someone who comes away from their birth experience with trauma, a very challenging experience, then are you really going to be able to take on that real hard job of looking after a newborn when your mind's going back to the birth, you're having flashbacks? Are you able to really be present? Are you able to enjoy it? Makes it much harder, makes that transition much harder. And we know that the first 1,001 days of a child's life is formative. It's like those neural pathways are literally being created in that time. And so it's important. Like, the birth experience is really important. It has a ripple effect on our whole society. And people can carry trauma from their birth and they don't even know, like in the body. So I'm surprised we're not talking about it more as a society.
Yeah, that I think when I started to, prior pregnancy, it was just what my body does. My body's gonna do it. Everybody's body does it. So it's just gonna happen. But then when you actually get faced with the experience of pregnancy, whether good or bad, like, because I've had lovely days being pregnant, and I've also had awful days being pregnant. And throughout the time, it's only then that I realised how much pregnancy is not spoken about. And I was like, why did no one tell me this? Like,
you were saying earlier.
Like, why did no one tell me this? Or why does it seem like it's just what you do? And then I think that has a ripple effect on, like, guys, right? Because a guy would never understand what the woman's body has to go through during pregnancy. However, because they just see everybody, and again, this is subjective, right? It's about what you see in your immediate environment, and it's also about what you see kind of like in the things that you watch. If you don't watch rom-coms and like really cutesy, lovey-dovey romantic stuff, you're not going to see the essence of love during pregnancy, right? You won't see none of that. And there are some guys that like a good rom-com, but not a lot of guys put themselves in that position. Do you know what I mean? Unless they've got a girl. But then even when they've got a girl, it's like, for me, I didn't speak about pregnancy before getting pregnant at all.
No.
I just knew I wanted to be pregnant. Yeah. So, okay, so what's the difference between a doula and a midwife?
So a doula is someone who's not medically trained, and I think that's the biggest difference, is that even if you were a doula attending a home birth, for example, and there was an emergency situation where you were skilled, you knew, for example, the baby's shoulder was stuck and you knew the manoeuvre, if you did it, you could, and it went wrong, you could go to prison. So that's the main thing, is we're not medically trained. The midwife is medically trained. We can't do anything like prescribe any drugs or anything. And there are definitely some doulas who, you know, if you're attending a free birth where there's no midwives there and you're a trained doula, there might be instances where you choose to actually step out of that role and do something like a manoeuvre or something to save a baby. I know doulas that have done that successfully. But it's dangerous because your neck's on the line. And if you don't know the client well enough, or if you don't have that relationship whereby you know you're not going to get sued by them, you might think you're not going to, but then if that, you know, it could escalate. So we are there to do the emotional and practical support and hold the space, I would say. Hold the space for them to work through the physiological pain barriers.
And the importance of the emotional side of labour and pregnancy. What is the importance of it? Because that is not emphasised. Like,
I think pregnancy can be really lonely. It can be kind of, you're isolated, in your body that's changing, and you know your life is going to change in a massive way, and that's why you need that cushion and that support. And the doula is there they're skilled, they're trained. Your partner, I'm sure he'll be a great birth partner, but has he trained to be one? Has he done the work? Does he know? So, and also your relationship dynamic with him under stress, what does that look like? When you're stressed together, what do you snap? Like, do you? Yeah.
No, I don't. Not really.
So, if you travel with him, do you get stressed out at each other?
Oh no. So I'm quite fortunate in that aspect. When we're not stressed at each other, it's perfectly fine. Like, if he's stressed about something, if I'm stressed about something, we can support each other.
Okay.
Whereas,
so that's good.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, I mean, it's a different thing. If he's annoyed me, I've annoyed him, that's a whole different thing. But during pregnancy or labour, if I'm feeling something, he will instantly understand that I'm feeling something. So he will support me on that.
Well, that's amazing.
And vice versa. But that's something that I've been very vocal in actively working on that, because it's like, he's got emotions too. I've got emotions, right? Now in this pregnancy time period, I can't control my emotions the way you can control your emotions. Yes, you have emotions, but you can control yours much more than I can control mine.
Because yours is hormonally driven, which is powerful.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, when I realised that, it was a conversation. It was like, no, actually, yes, you've got emotions. However, I'm going to need you to not park your emotions forever, but park your emotions if I'm going through something, and support me. And know that there will be a time and a space for you to express yourself. However, in this very moment, if you overpower me with your emotions, this baby's affected, right? And that is very, very important. It's like, when you understand that the child inside me can feel every single emotion I feel exactly the same, in exactly the same intensity. If I'm upset, if I'm crying, if I'm angry, our baby that we want the best for to come into this world and have the best for, is feeling anger before they're even out into this world. Is feeling pain before they're even out into this world. And I mean, no one really puts emphasis on that part, right? Like, and that emotional trauma that the baby's feeling whilst they're growing is a trauma that they will actually end up having when they come out, and they wouldn't even know why they've got it. So we've set them up
already.
Like, we've set them up for failure. I mean, not really, right? Because you can always counter it and support them when they're here. However, that work happens now.
Definitely.
That work happens now. And I think when you go through the feeling, when you go through pregnancy, anyone that's gone through it and anyone that wants to go through it, it's really understanding how important you are, especially when running a business, right? It took me a minute. It took me a minute to not get annoyed really quickly and not get stressed out really quickly based on something my partner does, or based on something my family does, or based on something my team does. Like, I have to literally be like, I'm not taking it on. Okay. Like, you're not doing what you're supposed to. Okay.
Just leave it. Just let it go.
I'm not dead. This baby, God forbid, is not dead. And really, that's the only thing that matters at this point in time. Perspective.
Yeah. And you just let it.
Yeah. Like, the podcast isn't out at 7 o'clock in the morning. Fuck it.
Fine. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll be very, like, yes, there are some women out here that will turn around and be like, no, but you can't even afford that. Like, so I know a good few people that are like solidly in business and they want kids. However, it's like, oof, don't have the time for it. Don't have, like, they're building. They're on this building journey. And then I look at them and I think to myself, I was there. And I felt like I lost my zest for that. Like, during this pregnancy. At the beginning, I was down and out emotional that I couldn't be the person that I was. I couldn't go full force and be as active as I was and go traveling and do this and do that. Like, I couldn't get up in the morning, right? That stressed me out mentally, which is what I was saying to you earlier. But then I think this middle part of pregnancy, I'm like, at the end of the day, there's a time and a season and a place to go through everything in life. And if I allow myself to not feel, I think Jim Ronson said this, if I don't take the time to feel everything, life goes by, right? So I feel the air on my skin when I step outside. I feel when I'm sad. I feel when I'm angry. I feel when I'm happy. Like, being present. You know, you were saying that you enjoy being here and having this conversation is because you're present, right? What would you say has been in building your business with Juniper? So you said that you started Put That Mama at 6 weeks.
Yeah.
What would you say? So you worked for the whole year, right? For practically free to essentially build up your confidence and your knowledge and understanding, right? What would you say has been in the past 2.5 years, 2 years, the hardest point, or a point where you thought, oh damn, I don't know, like, I don't know if this can carry on? Like, has that happened?
Do you know what? Very happy to say it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. I've not had that crashing moment. I think I had the difficult thing was when I was building my online course. I set a weekend and I was like, I want to do it on this weekend, and then I got ill, and I'm not even I'm not 100% well today, but I wasn't feeling well, and in my mind I was like, I have to do this because I said it, and I set up the room, and like I had childcare and everything, and I just powered through to do that, and thank God I did, because that course has been used by hundreds of people now across the world. I literally get a message once a week from someone with like an amazing positive birth story, and I didn't meet them. And had I just gone, oh, I was feeling a bit sick, or I wasn't feeling it, and not done it, you know, that would have impacted lives. Like, you know, who's to say on a different day? It was just the energy of that moment. And I almost feel sometimes when you're under the weather, you have to. It's like you can't even come in here. I had a few anxieties. Because I've done podcasts, but they've not been filmed or anything. So I had a few anxieties about that. And even just being a bit under the weather has helped me to just, it's almost like you just have to focus on getting the job done. Yeah. But I haven't had moments like that yet. I'm sure they'll come.
What do you think you'll do when they come?
Like the moment of, oh, I can't do this anymore. I don't know, I think...
What would you like to do?
I think think the moment would probably come if we choose to have another child, because I don't think you can do everything. You have to choose. You have to sacrifice. There's no such thing as doing everything. And in that first period, you know, I was working quite hard, but Juniper was sleeping a lot of the time, so she'd be sleeping on me and I'd be on the laptop and stuff like that. And getting the balance is challenging, but I think I'm really good at it because I wake up early before she wakes up. So I'll be up at like sometimes 4, sometimes 5, yeah? And then I get that head start as well. The house is quiet, no one's making noise. I also feel amazing because I'm like, people are sleeping and I'm up. It's just like a great feeling. Yeah, I'm like tapping away.
Catches the worm.
Yeah. So I'm not late. I go to bed early. I go to bed really early, but I wake up early and I'm quite like a natural positive person. So I get buzzed for the day at 4 a.m. I'm happy, cup of coffees, tapping away. I'll start building new products behind the scenes. So right now I'm working on a postnatal pack. Nice. So, because I think that part of it's really neglected. You focus all the energy on the baby and the birth, and then you land up with a newborn and it's nuts and your whole life has changed and there's literally no support. So that's what I'm building at the moment, and I do that in the mornings so that it doesn't take away from the day's work. The half day that I've got 4 half days a week, that's my working, that's it. Okay. And then I'm a full-time mum. So then me waking up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4 hours. I get an additional 4 hours waking up early. So that's something I would definitely say if anyone wants to start a business, try and wake up early and see how much more productive you are as well. Because there's no one messaging you at that time as well. Yeah. How you must have had the experience of when you go and do something and then 2 minutes later you've spoken to X number of people on WhatsApp, you've logged on to Facebook, you've liked someone, and you've not done anything. Yeah. So having no notifications in that morning is just amazing. Like, that's golden time.
No, I hear that.
Yeah.
But also I think as creatives we either are night owls or early birds.
That's it.
It's one of the two. Like our creative pieces. Yeah, I will stay up. I literally could stay up the whole night. Really? Yeah. Even through, like, so when I started Ambitious Peace, which is here, I started the candles literally a few weeks ago, and when I was doing the designing and when I was doing the planning of it, 48 hours I did not sleep. Right, yeah. I was just on the ball. In my head, it's like, once I get this, one thing I really do believe in is like, when you have a oh my god, I can't even speak. No. When you have the momentum of something, go with it. Power through.
Yeah.
Like, nothing matters in that moment. Yeah. As a creative, because it's so difficult to conjure up momentum and creativity from nowhere. So when you have the buzz, you go for it. You do everything you can. Yeah. Exactly. You sprint. Yeah. And then stop.
Yeah. And when you don't relax.
Exactly.
Because I was listening to your podcast and you were saying, I can't remember your exact words, but it's almost like when you stop working as well, the ideas come. Yes. So when it's like keep trying, keep working, and then actually if you go, well, I'm just gonna hop in the shower, for example, and then suddenly all the best ideas can come when you're not actively trying to think about it. Yeah. So on your note about momentum, with this new course I'm gonna film, I'm gonna have the studio set up, and I write all the content first. Instead of saying to myself, I'm gonna film on X date, I'm just gonna have it all set up, and when that momentum comes, I'm gonna go outside into the shed and I'm press and record. I'm just going to do it. And then when the momentum's gone, I'll go back in, have a cup of tea, trust that it will come back. And I'm just going to record it in stages only when I'm feeling the flow. And I think it's going to be sick.
I mean, that is the way to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that will kind of overthink being able to do something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they want to rush it. They want it to be done now, or they need it to be done at this point. And that technique, what you're saying in terms of setting it all up, having it just ready, waiting for the moment you gain that creativity. What would you say if it then goes 6 weeks and you still haven't received that buzz?
If you can, well, ask yourself why first and foremost, because for me, I will get a buzz Usually around ovulation, to be honest. Because it is true. The cycle affects moods and definitely correlates with that time of more energy and more flow. You can be more articulate during those times. And so that's when I'll get like once a month, maybe more, real power and energy. And if I don't have something to work on, I'll just do more in the social life or have more fun, see more people. But if it didn't come for that long, I would be asking if I'm doing the right thing, because I don't know, I personally think I get the flow often. Yeah. It's just how much have you slept? Are you in a good mood? Like, what's going on physiologically? Because we are chemicals. So if you've got a good chemical balance, you've rested, no one's pissed you off, or you were just in a good spirit, you've had a decent night's sleep, then surely that flow will come. So I'd first ask questions about why.
Yeah, because usually you're probably doing something they don't really want to do.
Yeah.
And if you don't really want to do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
I know. Okay, so Poppy, I want to ask you, what is in store for 2023? You've said you're doing a new course.
So I'm going to do the new course, design, develop that, and then I'm also going to be building my meditation package. So I sell an album of meditations, but I'm going to do another album more with the 3-dimensional sound and more to do with mental health during pregnancy. So I think that's also something that's left out.
Yeah.
And it's very much about the birth, but who's there for you when you're pregnant, when you're nauseous, when you're questioning your self-identity, when you've got body image, concerns, when you're having relationship difficulties, finances, like who's there? So I want to have a meditation/audio course that is like your guiding voice throughout pregnancy. Then you've got the birth box for your guiding voice throughout birth. Then afterwards you've got the postnatal pack. So building that journey for the family. And then what else? I want to start my podcast again. That's something I want to do.
Nice.
Because I like long form content. I think you can connect so much better with people.
And you love chat.
You love a chat? Yeah, I love a chat. And I might do it in person because it definitely is a vibe. Now I'm realising this probably wouldn't be as good if it was on Zoom.
Yeah. Oh, don't do that to me.
Oh, sorry.
Why would you go and say that?
No, I did all of my podcasts on Zoom. It was all right. Don't worry.
Do you know, I'm really having a hard time with like transitioning onto Zoom, but I will have a harder time stopping it completely. So I'm going to transition onto Zoom and do it and stay consistent. And that is just the season I'm in right now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to stay consistent with the podcast, but I also want to be a present mother. I also want to breastfeed. I also just don't want the pressure of having to go to a studio and get my team to be here and get all these people to make sure that they come in and to have efficient filming days. It's like doing all of that is long. Yeah. It's long. And I just don't want that pressure. So to stay consistent, I will transition onto Zoom.
Yeah.
And then once I get into the momentum of being a mother and I've gone through the first, I don't know, however long. It could be 6 weeks, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. I don't know yet. I'm going to leave that to fate, God, Allah, whatever. Yeah. Right? And then see how it kind of goes. Because I think consistency is key. Yeah. Consistency is more important. And having a very just clear consistency, I think, with us as content creators, in business, in anything, and also the regret of me leaving the salon. And I say regret now, but that's not normally the word that I would use. I'm actually quite happy that I left the salon when I did, because it was the perfect time to leave it.
Yeah, you were saying, because of COVID.
Yeah. So I don't know why I've just said regret. However, there is definitely a part of me that feels like if I carried on, what would have happened? So I don't want that feeling. So because I don't want that feeling, or what if I carried on the podcast? What if I could have done it? Because my partner's extremely supportive and he is there, like, he's so excited to be a dad. It's a joke. Like, to the point where I'm like,
sweet.
what guy's like this? What guy wants to wake up and do night feed and change dirty bums? Like,
Yeah.
he's like, no, I'll do every single one.
Oh,
and I'm like,
so
what?
sweet.
I love it.
Milk that.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, listen, that's fine. You could do it all. However, there's a part of me that also feels like, am I going to want you to do it all?
Yeah.
But we'll see when it happens, right? But yeah, like, I'm fortunate enough to have a supportive partner in that sense. So, you know, you like we were saying before, like having your people there to allow you the space to do what you need to do. And as a woman, I think it's very, very important that you're true to what you want to do as a woman, as a person. Because yes, you're a mother. And yes, you're going to be a mother or whatever it is. You have that identity, but you also have the identity that you had previously, and that you're going to form.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your best advice for building a business and being pregnant and
During new motherhood and
motherhood?
well.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to find.
I would say in the very beginning, personally, I would just allow yourself to do motherhood and enjoy it. And like I say, I did it at six weeks. That was me starting a podcast with my phone, breastfeeding. So I just Googled how to start a podcast, follow the steps, and I had my phone. So you can hear her like breastfeeding. And that's how I started. But I wasn't making moves then. I was just subtly putting the message out and seeing what would happen. And then I started getting messages from people across the world every week. And I was like, oh, there's something in this. And then I retrained. I did 3 courses and it escalated from there. But I prioritised being a mum because I think realistically everything that I've done that has been a success, nothing beats being with my girl and lying in bed with her, watching her sleep, watching her fall asleep and watching her little eyes close. And I soak that up and I'm like, I don't care, like nothing. It's like everything melts away. And that's, for me, my priority is her and my family. And I know that all of this stuff, like, it's great, like, you know, but it's not as rich for me as the moments, those sweet moments you have with your child. And I think if you have to get that balance and not be too consumed with one that you neglect the other, which if you are going to achieve something, and it's like a balancing act, and sometimes it can go like this and you can feel it, and then it's like you feel that pull to be like, nope, you're putting too much time here, go back here. So yeah, but you'll see, nothing is as good as being with your child. And I also think that you might find that you naturally reprioritize. So being with your baby, being with your baby, you might start to think, actually, like, this is really nice. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen when you become a mum or a dad, actually, or a parent. You just don't know how it's going to affect you.
Yeah. Well, Poppy, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like it was a bit of a therapy session for me, to be honest.
Love that.
But I'm so excited for the journey ahead.
For me to be your doula?
Well, girl, I can't lie to you. Who's gonna talk? Hey. But no, I'm really excited to see everything that you produce over the next year, and hopefully it's done by the time I give birth. Yeah. Hopefully. But a massive thank you for coming in. Thank you for being transparent, and thank you for doing what you do, bringing life into this world, and supporting women, because genuinely we do need that support.
Thank you so much. It's been great to be here. Love this studio and the vibe. The vibe here is really lovely. It's nice.
Thank you.
Want to come again tomorrow?
Feel free. Feel free.
No, but good luck with the podcast as well. I think it's super inspiring, and there's little golden nuggets that I've taken away already from just listening. So yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you.
You was just listening to the Promisingpreneur podcast. I am Aahliyah Amerat, and thank you so much for listening all the way through. Don't forget to click subscribe and share to at least one person, because that's the only thing that's going to fuel us to carry on.